Tonight's special programming is brought to you by NBC Nightly News, alongside with Saturday Night Live. Tonight's special show will include an interview with influential characters from the Prohibition era. We hope you enjoy.
Hello and good evening. Welcome to Saturday Night Live. Today we're joined by some of the most influential characters of the Prohibition era. Please welcome our first guest, Mr. William Johnson. Hello, Mr. Johnson. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? Thanks for having me.
So, Mr. Johnson, what exactly is the Anti-Saloon League?
That's a very important question. I feel like if the Anti-Saloon League is to have success, it's important for the public to know who we are. The Anti-Saloon League is, well, we're not really a specific group of people. It's just a collective. It's a collective group of people who have the same mindset, and that is to have a constitutional amendment to ban the manufacture, sale, and transportation of damn booze. And when I mean anyone. We can have Republicans, Democrats, members of the KKK, members of the NAACP, suffragettes, populists, progressives. We even have famous industrialists on our side, such as Andrew Carnegie and John D. Rockefeller.
So why do you exactly want to ban this damn booze?
You see, alcohol was actually causing a lot of problems. Domestic abuse, public disarray. There was just a general sense of commotion that needed to be stopped. The grassroots of Prohibition started in the 1840s with the temperance movements back then. And their goal at that time was to cleanse America of sin. It was kind of a follow-up from abolition and the ending of slavery. So we kind of have the same mindset. We want to cleanse America of sin, but kind of in a more secular way. We want to cleanse all the bad parts of America that alcohol is causing.
And how do you exactly plan on succeeding?
So there was actually a lot of support for our plan, and that kind of surprised us, but we took the support when we could get it. Like I said before, the grassroots of Prohibition started in the 1840s, and so there was kind of like a mindset that was growing among the people against alcohol. So there was already many people in favor for our plan, but I guess something that we had to adapt to were the people that still liked alcohol. And so what we did is we tied alcohol to the propaganda of Germans during World War I, because everyone in America hated the enemy at the time. We're all patriotic. And so we tied alcohol to something that they hated. And so in turn, they would begin to hate alcohol and hate booze. And so that's kind of how we rallied the public that wasn't on our side onto our side.
Oh, that makes sense. Well, thank you, and thank you for your time. Have a great night, Mr. Johnson.
Yeah!
Now please, welcome to the stage, the notorious Mr. Al Capone. Hello, Mr. Capone. So, where exactly are you from? How'd you get involved in mobs?
Well, I was born in Brooklyn, New York, but I come from a largely Italian background as my parents immigrated from Italy to the U.S. in the 1890s. And so this Italian background led me to a criminal life when Johnny Torrio gave me an invitation to join the Colosimo gang. This is an Italian gang in Chicago. I accepted the offer, and from there, the leader of the mob, Big Jim Colosimo, died, and Johnny Torrio became the leader, and I became his trusted right-hand man and eventually the leader.
So once you got your high position, what did you really do when you got control?
Well, first of all, I changed the name of the Colosimo mob to my very own Chicago Outfit mob. And so myself and the Chicago Outfit mob, we ran extremely profitable bootlegging operations in mainly the South Side part of Chicago. And the extreme amount of cash and money that could be made from these bootlegging operations created a lot of tension and competition between other gangs around Chicago, such as Moran's Northside gang. This tension and competition built up all the way until that one Saturday where my Chicago Outfit gang ran into Moran's gang during a bootlegging operation. And my gang shot and killed 5 of Moran's gang in what became known as St. Valentine's Day Massacre. All this competition and tension proved to be worth it in the end, as I made over $100 million a year.
Nice.
Bootlegging operations.
Wow, so you seem to be very successful. How exactly did you fall apart? What was your downfall like?
Yes, indeed. My criminal activities were just going as planned perfectly until President Woodrow Wilson created the order for the creation of the so-called Bureau of Prohibition, tasked with arresting criminals during the Prohibition era that profited from bootlegging operations like myself. And this Elliot Ness, a specific agent in this bureau, he created the Untouchables, a team that was tasked with only arresting myself, which is why I need a whole team to arrest me because I'm that good. So while the Untouchables never actually caught me for my bootlegging operations because I just masked it perfectly, they did catch me for tax evasion, and I was sent to the prison for 11 years, which I attended Alcatraz for most of it, and I'm still at Alcatraz today.
Wow. Well, thank you for your amazing responses, and have a good time in Alcatraz. And for our next guest, please welcome President Franklin Delano Roosevelt. How you doing, Mr. President?
Very good, son. How are you?
I'm good, thank you for asking. So our first question for you was, what was your prime motive for passing the 21st Amendment?
Well, that's a very good question, son. Well, if I had to say, I primarily pushed for a repeal against the 18th Amendment because of the citizens' drastic need of relief during the Great Depression. As we all know, the Great Depression drastically affected the economy and our citizens. Not only did it uplift our citizens with alcohol with the 21st Amendment, but it also gave the government new taxes and new jobs which it could use as the result of the 21st Amendment. Overall, the passing of this was what America needed the most during this time.
Did you ever feel like the repeal of Prohibition would cause an increase in unemployment in America?
At first, I did feel like the repeal of the 18th Amendment would cause a higher tendency for unemployment in for the economy, because the people, as a result, might have, like, as I assumed at first, might have started to drink more and have, as a result of that, have higher unemployment. But I was quick to realize that it would actually create higher jobs, higher job employment, as a result of the Prohibition being removed and alcohol department being introduced into the economy. With the alcohol department being introduced, new jobs could be created, and also as a result of that, crime could be reduced as a result of no longer being bootlegging in the form of Al Capone. So, in the end, I do feel like what you said about it being causing unemployment is false, because it created new jobs instead as a result of that.
So then in what ways did the 21st Amendment push the American economy?
The American economy, I felt, was pushed forward, as I said before, not only through the taxes and the new jobs that were created, but also because of the crime rates being lowered. The rise and fall of Al Capone through the efforts of Elliot Ness and the Untouchables were just one of the things that eased the crime rates during the Great Depression. With alcohol being legal once again through the 21st Amendment, there would no longer be such enforcement issues with prohibition. Like, Americans could freely drink and ease themselves during the Great Depression. Americans, I felt, were given a new direction to move in, not by taking a step forward, but ironically taking a step back. Because by taking a step back and going back to our roots and giving them the freedom, one of the outlooks of America, one of the basic ideals of America, by taking a step back to what we once had before, which was no enforcement of prohibition, we were able to actually move forward as an economy. We were able to push our citizens forward and give them something to move off of, if you see what I'm saying.
Yes. Interesting. Well, thank you so much, Mr. President.
Yeah.
Good night, folks. Well, good night and good evening.
from the KKK, someone from the NAACP. Honestly, anyone who shares the same mindset as us, we want them to join us.
Good. Now, please welcome to the stage the notorious Mr. Al Capone. Now, please welcome to the stage the notorious Mr. Al Capone.
Martin, you're so bad at this.
Alright, hold on. I'm not gonna laugh, sorry.
Now, please welcome to the stage the notorious Al Capone.
Martin! You're so bad! Okay.
Now, please welcome to the stage the notorious Mr. Al Capone. Hello, Mr. Capone. So.
That's good.